Hi everyone, this is audap. Alright, so I've got one more exclusive game for the Supergrafx, and that's 1941 Counterattack. Now, not actually all that fond of the 1940X series. Really, outside of 1942, all the subsequent sequels featured some sort of mechanic where you would just automatically lose life, or, I guess you could think of it as fuel. Which just means that you are always guaranteed to only be allowed a certain playtime, regardless of your skill. So never really all that fond of that. But this is the home version, and this is kind of like the ultimate home version, outside of playing something like on Capcom, arcade cabinet. So yeah, let's definitely check it out. Again, pretty accurate to the arcade version, outside of the aspect ratio. And honestly, I actually like this a little bit better than the arcade version, which is not a normal thing for me to say. Normally, I will always stick with an arcade game, but I think the difficulty is a little bit better balanced in this. Arcade games are really just meant to take your money, so if you live for about 3 minutes, and then hopefully they get another quarter out of you, or well, I think by this time the games were 50 cents, so. I had 2 quarters out of you. Yeah, so I find this a lot more playable than the arcade game. Obviously, it doesn't sound as nice, or maybe it doesn't sound. It just sounds a little bit different. We really only got the PCM sound, just like any Supergrafx game. But regardless, I think it still sounds pretty good. It's just not as rich as the arcade game, but at the same time, the arcade game also had some rather harsh high tones, which, of course, you don't get those here in a Supergrafx game. So, pluses and minuses, right? Probably an overall plus, really. Yeah, this one, you sort of bounce off the walls and do like a spin attack. So it's definitely not as, it's not trying to be, accurate to history at all, obviously. All the ship designs are a little bit more fantasy-based. Whoa. But really, there's only like just the tiniest hint of flicker every once in a while. But overall, really, really solid game. You know, I would still choose, you know, Alderness over this. But this is not bad. Certainly, if you're a fan of the arcade game, this would make you happy. Yeah, it's funny to think that we sort of think of this retro system as being a bit spendy. You know, I think it typically goes for around $500 for a used system. But the thing is that it launched for a high price too. So, if anything, it has basically maintained its same value. And the games were a little expensive, but when I was looking into it, I realized that the games were also expensive. You know, they were like $110, and again, back in those times. But even if you didn't consider, the inflation, you know, they were still going for like $110. You know, in 1990 money. And I think, you know, I think this game goes for somewhere around there. I think it goes for like $150, maybe a little bit more than that, unless you want a complete setup. But yeah, I mean, it really hasn't gone up in value. It's just, we just think of it as expensive now. But really, it's about the same price as it was when it came out. I suppose the good thing about the Supergrafx is that unless you're looking for Darius Alpha, you know, there's so few games for it that it's relatively easy to collect for if you wanted a physical system. And like I said, you know, there's not a whole lot of good ways to play Supergrafx games. You know, outside of emulation. And maybe owning the core graphics mini. You know, those Supergrafx, it didn't sell that well, so there's not really that many of them out there. And you know, if you're looking to play it primarily on, you know, as a primary replacement for your PC Engine or your core graphics, then likely you'll have to recap the capacitors. You know, it's been a long time since they were out, and depending on the usage of the system, you know, they may be well worn. So you're spending some additional money trying to mod your system, or repair your system, not really mod it. Yeah, I don't think there are ways to earn continues either. I think this is pretty much it. I mean, there might be some cheats on it. You know, you never know. This was the era of cheats. Of some controller combination. Well, I said if I was a fan of this game, I'd be pretty happy with it. Again, especially in, you know, 1990. Certainly, we weren't getting this kind of performance from a whole lot of games from consoles of the era. I mean, it even features 2 players. Which was often sacrificed in home versions of the games, just to cut down on the number of objects that you know, these home consoles had to process. This pretty much goes without a hitch. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to beat this game. I mean, I said this. Although this doesn't feature the fuel mechanic of 1943, thankfully. It is fairly easy to get hit. You know, the bullet's really small, and your hitbox is a little bigger than you'd expect it to be. Especially if you're only used to playing modern shmups, then you may feel that the hitbox is too big. It's also weird not keeping your power-ups on the next mission, so you start from 0 every single time. Yeah, I know there's a charge attack too, but I don't feel that charge attack all that useful. You know, versus just using rapid fire. You know, maybe here it would be useful. Try to get these enemies that you can't quite reach. Oh, so much stuff comes behind you. That's one bad thing about this stage. You know, there's no way to shoot behind you, so you just gotta fly in certain patterns in order to minimize the risk of getting hit. Ugh. And again, I feel that this is a little bit more balanced than the arcade version, so it is possible to beat it on the number of credits that they give you. Well, they give you 2 continues, I think. Just a little perseverance and memorization. You know, it certainly won't be an easy journey, but it is a journey that is possible to compete or to complete. Yeah, I mean, and that'll be it. That'll be like all the Supergrafx games. It's a real shame that NEC did such a terrible job marketing this and getting this into developers' hands. You know, and it was sort of meant as like a replacement for the PC Engine, not necessarily a whole school generation shift. I mean, we think of this as like a console refresh, you know, like a pro version of the PC Engine. And it is. It's basically a PC Engine with some extra memory. But yeah, they just didn't get to work on getting games made for it. Just these few handful of games, which are are just average or really good. Now, thankfully, there isn't like an actual bad game on the system. But you know, with only 6 games on your system, you know. I think 2 of those games are not even dedicated games. Because you have this, you have Aldenus, you have Monho Granzort, you have Ghouls and Ghosts, then you have Darius Alpha, which can take advantage of the Supergrafx, but not a Supergrafx game per se. And Darius Plus, again, can take advantage of the Supergrafx, but not an actual Supergrafx game. And I think that's it. I don't think I'm missing anything. It's weird. It's weird to just like name off the library without using all your fingers. You know. Unless I thought it was a good system. Really, it's a really shame that NEC really flubbed it. But NEC really only had one great system, and that was the that was the PC Engine. Outside of that, they just made one screw up after another. And they did incredibly well in the PC space in Japan, which is why they thought they were so untouchable. But yeah, I mean they And I would say normally, they learned a hard lesson about marketing to the rest of the world, but they did not. They learned 0 lessons. Otherwise we would have gotten more support for the Turbo Duo when that launched, because the Turbo Duo followed after the Supergrafx. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know if you necessarily call that a new system. It was just a combination of the Turbo and CD as a single unit. But ultimately, that's the system that you would get if you were looking to get into, playing PC Engine games on real hardware. And specifically the Japanese one, since the selection of software is much higher, and there is like a region lock, physical region lock. The pins on the US version and the Japanese version are different. Get a little bit of slowdown. Again, not terrible. Boy, the low energy klaxon. Boy, I wish developers realized how annoying it is. You might be able to get by with the excuse that these games were played in the arcades and they need to be a little loud to be heard. But I think that only goes so far. Oh, that's right, your power-ups are timed. Don't get to keep anything for very long. And you're not always given like another load of power-ups. There's just gonna be times where you get nothing. Well, again, we gave it a good college try. This is audap I'm watching 1941 Counterattack, running on the Supergrafx. Yeah, a very, very solid conversion of this game. Probably the best home conversion of the game. You know, outside of buying something like the Capcom arcade cabinet for a modern audience. Certainly at the time, there was nothing else that could compare to this version. So yeah, it's about as arcade perfect as you could get on hardware that existed in the early 90s. So yeah, I'd say that if you were looking to get this game for the Supergrafx, it is, you know, an impressive game to have on that system. But certainly not the best game. And not because of any problems with the Supergrafx itself. It's just, you know, the game itself is, I don't really feel there's anything special from the 1940 series. But you know, maybe you like it and you want to play it. In which case, yeah, definitely check out the Capcom arcade cabinet. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.